Well, the main thing is you just want to stay consistent. You know, whenever you're playing football, basketball, whatever it is, you just want to stay consistent. And like I said, you continue to build on the things that has gotten you where you're at in your career. So right now I have more knowledge than I had when I was a freshman. I'm more mature. I see plays happening before they actually happen, and that's all from experience. You know, and I know how to handle my body whenever I go home at night. I know the things to eat. I know the things to drink. You know, I don't smoke, so that helps a lot. So I know, like your car is like an engine. You know, if you put regular gas in a Ferrari, it's not gonna be a Ferrari in 5 years. It'd be a Prius. People like, what the heck is going on? So that's how your body operates, and that's how I think of it. So you know, yeah, that's the main thing.
Any impressions of Jalen and Darnay early on in their careers? What have you seen from them in spring?
Darnay is just, man, that Deion Sanders swagger. Like, it was crazy because in spring ball, you know, Coach Meek, our defensive back coach, put him in with the ones, and it's like the first couple of plays, he was like doing things that you don't see very often. Like, he'll show blitz, but when he's supposed to be like covering or whatever, I'm like, man, this guy is like, it's natural to him very early. And he's just a nasty, raw guy, man. I love his game, you know. And he's only a baby. He's a rookie, you know. He's trying to find his way to maximize his potential, and I think he's going to do great things. He has impressed me this past spring ball.
Kenny, is there more pressure on the defense since the offense is going through so many changes for the third year in a row? Does that put more pressure on you guys to perform?
Nah, man. Pressure is I think the pressure is a privilege, and I think the rest of the guys, you know, they do the same thing. We don't try to do that. We don't try to throw pressure on ourselves. You know, we say, okay, look, we cut out the bad, and we move forward, you know, with the positives. And a lot of times this past year, you know, we only won 4 games and had 8 losses. That is terrible for a defense to have 8 losses. It's terrible for anybody to win 4 games with the offense or whatever, however you want to look at it. So, you know, I just think that the defense will always have the offense back. And I think one thing is the offensive line that they maybe, you know, they maybe not really turned their backs. A bunch of things happened to where, you know, they didn't want to play UCLA offense or football. So they felt like they didn't have our back at some time. And, you know, it was frustrating as a defensive guy because, like, man, you know, we sitting here getting these stops, but, you know, you guys are not matching, you know, what you're doing. And I think, you know, they've learned this offseason that they have a bigger responsibility. You know, they owe it back to themselves and the team. And like I said, that wasn't us. You know, they owe it back to UCLA football instead of the plan. So I don't think we're adding any pressure on each other. We just try to make each other better. And that starts in practice. And on game day, it's a celebration, man. We don't really think about anything. We just go out there, you know, react off of preparation and our instincts, and just try to get the W. You know, everybody want to win.
What do you remember most about preparing for and/or playing against Sam Darnold last year?
Man, that guy got hit by, I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was Tech McKinley, but he got hit so hard and he just popped up. I'm like, man, this guy's tough. Is it, you know, what is it, freshman, sophomore?
Redshirt freshman last year.
Yeah, whatever it is. So this is a tough guy. He's a true competitor. I've seen it twice. Josh Rosen, his freshman year. Man, he looks like Peyton Manning back there in shotgun, to where, you know, if he sees something that, you know, the defense is doing that he don't like, he'll make a check. That is not normal. You know, like you see signs of guys being natural and just taking over the game like that and having success at it. You know, doing it over and over, game in and game out. And Sam got that same type of mentality. You know, he's a true competitor. I'm sure it starts in his preparation. I would love to see how he works behind the scenes, you know, because that's when all his work is done. But he's a great competitor. I love playing against that guy. He always has something that you want to play, you know, play for and play against. And, you know, he's had some success, but I think that, you know, his whole mindset of being a top competitor and, you know, being above average is helped him a long way. And, you know, you see it with Josh Rosen too. I think the thing with Josh Rosen is that he just battled adversity. Well, he battled adversity this past year, and, you know, there are 2 guys that I say will have a very bright future.
In a 2-program town like LA, how much of a motivator is it to have USC over there? You know, you've been on both sides of that. You know, you've been up and you've been down in that rivalry. How much does that matter?
Well, it's crazy when I was growing up. You know, the thing for me, you know, I'm not from LA, I'm from New Orleans, was Alabama and LSU. I would love, when I was a kid, I would love to play in that game. And, UCLA started out recruiting LSU, Alabama, so I'm like, let me see the West Coast like. And, I wasn't a big fan of, USC or UCLA until they started recruiting me. And then the guys, like even the whole week before the game, like the professors asked me, hey man, you guys gonna, how many points are you gonna score on USC? How many tackles are you gonna have, Kenny, or whatever it is? Then I started building up. It felt like game day, literally, like every day prior up to the game for some reason, like just the energy in practice, the energy in the locker room was just different. And I think that's something special, whenever you're in a rivalry game, like with USC. It just energy to thrive off, and something, whenever we get to the game time, we're just out there playing the top competitor. And I think the guys, on our team really do respond well to that. And it's always a battle, always.
Tell me what you like most about Coach Mora. Somebody was asking me to ask you.
I would have to say that he's a players first coach. I thought about Coach Mora when we first started recruiting. It was something was just different, and I seen that amongst the guys. So he coached in the NFL, right? So the same approach we had and the plan we had with getting guys to the top of the level at the NFL, he brought it to college. Like you said, you're a freshman here in UCLA, you learn what it is to be a pro. You learn how to go about the business.